It's our time. It's our time.
Hey there, I'm Shubeeh from North of Normal, and this is One Song, One Story. The concept is simple. Each guest brings a song, and together we explore what it means to them, the memories it holds, the feelings it unlocks, and the story it tells about who they are. Today's episode is about flow, transformation, and the kind of music that finds you when you're not even looking for it. I'm joined by Jason Olivea, a holistic coach I met 6 years ago on an ayahuasca retreat in Costa Rica. Jason brings a song that became a companion after ceremony, after change, and at the very beginning of a beautiful love story. We talk about identity, vibration, the body, and how music can hold an entire chapter of your life without saying a single word. Enjoy. Welcome to the One Song, One Story podcast. Jason Olivea, how are you, big guy?
I'm doing good. I just had a good brunch, so my belly is full, and I should be ready to go.
Good. Tell me about your brunch. What did you have?
Yeah, we met some friends. I had an egg omelet, but I had a 6-egg omelet with some veg in there and a side of bacon, and I had a little bit of avocado. So
I
that's
like
where I
it.
started. Yeah,
I like
yeah.
it. I've heard of a 3-egg omelet, but a 6-egg omelet, that sounds pretty good.
Well, it's funny enough. The lady had this machine to enter the orders, and she's like, for every single additional egg, I have to go in and out of the machine to hit one. So like she could hit 6. So she sat there like going through this process, and after a couple minutes, she's like, "Yeah, I'm still putting in the number of eggs you added to the omelet. Hold on 1 second." So by the time she got that done, she could take other people's orders. It was a chuckle for sure.
And a question I like to ask guests on the podcast is, if your day today was a song, what would the title of that song be, and what would be the vibe?
The title of the song, I guess, "Enjoy the Moment." And the title, that's the title of the song. The vibe would be in the spirit of my lady Zaina, it would be windy and flow. Because today, I know in Fahrenheit, we do Fahrenheit here, of course, in the States. So it's like 67 degrees. So I don't know what that converts to Celsius, but it's warm and it has a nice warm breeze to the day. And tomorrow we're supposed to be like down to 30 degrees. So it's supposed to be like a 37-degree differential. It's supposed to be get below freezing. So I guess in the spirit of the weather, that's my song and that's my vibe for today.
Wow, that's a big change. I mean, we're kind of near freezing at the moment, but it's a British winter, so that is to be expected. But yeah, all good. And you mentioned your partner Zaina there. So Zaina has actually been on this show. I think her episode dropped probably a few weeks ago now, but it was amazing to chat to her. And she was actually the one that suggested I reach out to you. So it's great to actually get this going and be sat in front of you right now. And another thing I love to do is explore a song that connects us. Okay, so the song that connects, or the song that I think of when I think of you, is Just Dropped In by Kenny Rogers. I can't say I'm a Kenny Rogers fan, but there's this one tune he did that is amazing. It's kind of different to anything else that I've heard him do. But the reason it sticks with me is because we first met at Soltara retreat center, an ayahuasca retreat that I used to be invested in. And when we met there, when I was on retreat, I made a video of the whole site and the Maloka and the surrounding premises. And the song I used was Just Dropped In by Kenny Rogers. So there's like a whole host of people that when I see their faces, I think of Soltara, I think of the video I made, I think of this song playing in my head. So yeah, that's the one that connects me to you. And I'm not sure if you've heard it, but you should definitely check it out.
I will definitely do that. I actually remember the video quite well. And I always loved the video because Zaina was in the maloka dancing at some parts of it, and it was like a silhouette, like it wasn't explicit, you know.
Yeah.
And I always thought, man, it was really cool. I really enjoyed that. And I remember
Yeah.
you being all over the campus there, filming all kinds of stuff, and so I got to see a little bit of the fruit of your labor.
Yeah, that's right. It's quite a tricky thing to do, filming in a retreat, because it's a fine line between having a camera around when people are trying to chill and trying to kind of film without getting in their face. So I'd usually pick maybe one day when spirits were a little bit higher and just try and whip round and get it done. Because sometimes, you know, there's kind of a real art to those retreats. Sometimes myself and everyone else is probably not in a mood where they really want to be disturbed in any way. So trying to capture the moment but be respectful of what people are going through. And it's kind of interesting because we're on this retreat together. I guess it's quite tough to explain for people that may not have done it, but you probably, with the people that were there, you share kind of one of the most deepest, personal, intimate, most transformational moments during that week. Yeah, on the flip side, you can know very little about them as well. And I come at this thinking, yeah, Jason, I was on a retreat with him, but I also come at this thinking, I know very little about Jason. I know we shared this incredibly powerful moment, but know very little about you. So it's kind of equally intriguing for me to have this conversation with you and kind of find out more about you as a person and talk about your musical tastes. And I know you brought a great song with you, and we'll get into that later. But yeah, keen to talk a little bit about more about you first. And was that your first medicine experience where we met together?
It was actually my second. The first one I was in Temple of the Way of Light in Peru the year before. And I was there for a 12-day retreat when we had 7 ceremonies. And then this one was a week for 4 ceremonies. And yeah, you know, when you were speaking, what came up for me was the beauty of all we share this deep, rich experience. And although we have not connected in years since then, I feel like old friends. Like it's kind of an interesting phenomena to feel in the body, to know that there's a camaraderie, there's a kindred spirit between us of what we've
Mm,
experienced together. And it felt like we didn't miss any days. Like if we were in person, I'd be high-fiving and give you a hug, hello, and like we'll shoot
yeah,
the shit, you know, like, hey, what's going on in your world? And feeling like we didn't miss a beat. It's pretty visceral for me in this moment.
yeah,
And but yeah, so I was in Soltara for a week together with you, and that's where I met Zaina. She was the yoga instructor and also the staff on the campus there.
yeah.
And ever since then we met, which we'll soon get into. As you said, you know, within a week of leaving, that song popped up for me and kind of crystallized a lot of things that were to evolve and become what they are. Is um, has a deep sense of appreciation and affinity and love in my heart about that song.
Mm. And it feels like quite a powerful song, and I can't wait to dig into it and get to grips with it a little bit more.
Yeah.
Um, Now, I've kind of seen you on social media. You probably talk a little bit about the work you do with Inner Compass. Um, be keen to hear a little bit more about that, and keen to understand kind of after some powerful medicine retreats, like the retreats that you've been on, how that kind of infuses into the work you do.
Gotcha. Yeah, thank you. So I've had a deep fascination of human behavior. Why do people do what they do? What makes them tick? Since a very young boy, I just always remembered being very curious. That evolved into my professional career, my personal life, and in psychology and human development. That was my degree at the university, and went on to other things. And then I really caught the bug on a lot of holistic health coaching and certifications, one of which was the Enneagram, which is a human personality system. My former partner, who's passed away now, he and I put together an Enneagram personality assessment that gave rise to the inner compass. And through all of that, I've made a lot of transitions in and out of my consulting and coaching roles. And I had a year where I just said, I'm going on a sabbatical for myself. I had done quite a bit of work, inner work, whatever you want to phrase it as, the typical phrases here that we use normally. One of which was I did a 10-day Vipassana meditation retreat. I
Wow.
did some other stuff, and then a couple of friends of ours talked about doing some plant medicine, and I knew of it, but I didn't really know much about it. Started looking into it and processing it, and seeing if it was for me. That led me to go to the Temple of the Way of Light. The year later, I went to Soltara, and it's had a radical perspective shift in my experience of myself, how I experience others. I can't say I've dissolved every ounce of my historical conditioning, for sure, and yet leaps and bounds of making that move forward, or disrobing of the conditioning, and disrobing of the idea of who or what I am for these masked entities or identities, I call them. So it had a big impact on my coaching and my consulting, and on how I thought and perceived and used the Enneagram as a tool. And it hasn't stopped since. So it continues to evolve and grow, but it definitely had a fundamental shift on how I approach coaching and consulting. Um, in particular, for example, where I feel like most people feel like they are identified with the body and the mind. Like, that's who I am, right? I am Jason, and I tend to see myself as I am associated or localized in this body, and my personality, what I like and dislike, and the ideas about myself and the world is we tend to cloak quite a bit ourselves with, and therefore I must be this cluster of thoughts, ideas, and beliefs. And so for me, the plant medicine um, undercut all of those foundational ideas that most of humanity has about who am I, or answering that question, who am I? And ayahuasca definitely opened my eyes experientially to know that we are not confined to or limited to the identification of who or what we are based upon the body and the mind, that we're
Yeah.
beyond that. And so I've actually began using my inner compass personality assessment to help me understand with clients who they have mistaken their identity for, rather than who or what they actually are. So it helps me understand the cage, if you will, of ideas and beliefs that one has caged themselves in. And I invite them to go on a journey to unlock the door and step beyond those self-imposed boundaries and limitations. I think of it as similar as Mother Aya, in the sense that once you take it, you're on that journey, whether you like it or not, for the next few hours, and you're going to get exposed, and you're going to see yourself in the world in some really potentially challenging ways, beautiful ways. There are
Yeah.
a lot of adjectives to describe it, but it's going to ultimately, I would propose or project, that it's going to shatter the ideas of what you've always historically have believed, and ideas about the world. Going into the session, you come away on some level that being all undermined. And
Yeah.
for some, that's overwhelming. For some, it's refreshing. And from a lot of people, it's somewhere in between. But I know I came away from my ceremonies as if how I understood who am I, the world, uh, and what is, and how can we approach maybe psychological suffering or psychological dissatisfaction
Mm.
in a fundamentally different way. So that's kind of where I've landed.
That's beautiful. And yeah, I resonate with so much, with some of that so much. And I think fairly early on in my medicine experience, one of the biggest things that I'm going to say learned, even though it doesn't feel like learning, it's more like unlearning. It was just blowing away, deconstructing everything that I'd ever thought through my life. And it was like, you're thinking about this all wrong. I'll blow that away. And you walk away thinking, okay, so I know nothing. But somehow it's like really liberating to think, okay, things are just so much bigger than that. Great. I don't need to stress out because my human brain isn't really possible of dealing with it. So just forget it. I felt it was incredibly liberating to just break down so much of what I thought, and I still carry it with me now. It's a sort of a freedom to knowing that things are just so much bigger than you might be able to comprehend and get stuck on. There's so much more going on that you can comprehend, and somewhere in there, I find liberation and freedom. I think, yeah, it's very very nice, very very nice feeling. Um, and I guess we are going to get to the song, but this show is about music, right? So in terms of music, what are your earliest memories of kind of either really listening to music or falling in love with a song or something like that?
It's interesting. Well, for context, I was born in 1971 in New York. So in the 80s and 90s in New York, East Coast music is what I have probably would most influenced by. When I was growing up, rap music just started to become a thing.
Yeah,
Like Sugar Hill Gang, and uh,
yeah,
Cool Mo D, and I mean you can go on, but they were just starting to bring a genre of music. And I would say I've historically loved the classical. I guess it's funny saying it's classical now, but old school rap.
yes,
Compared to what I listen to now, I don't know if it's a function of age or, you always say the old people. It's like back in the day it was much better.
yeah,
I think there's some truth to that maybe, and yet when I listen to it, I'm like, it doesn't. It doesn't seem to be as substance as when, regardless of what they sang about, it felt like much more substance and depth to it, and
yeah,
freestyling, and I always love that. So that's a big genre for me. Um, and I, in particular, like Beastie Boys became really big
yeah,
when I was in junior high and high school. But I would say I'm quite eclectic. Like I remember enjoying. I'll enjoy any kind of genre. The only one growing up, and maybe this is because I'm a city slicker to some degree, I never got into country. That's the
yeah,
only genre that I never could wrap my head around. That and like speed metal when they're screaming. Like I was like, no, that I couldn't tolerate. Interestingly enough, I mean, I've lived now a lot of my life in the Midwest in the United States, and so I've actually become quite open and enjoy country music.
mm,
So I'll add that to my genre that I'll share with you today that I enjoy currently, contemporary wise. Still don't love the speed metal, but yeah, I mean, I can get down with anything. I go through phases too, which is pretty interesting. Um, you know, it could go from like pop music, it could be country music, like I said, or sometimes it could be like I just go through a couple of months of just old school rap or old school metal. So
yeah,
I go through these eclectic phases. Like if you look at my saved Spotify, you're like, oh, I remember that phase. I remember that phase. I have all these downloads. So
I'm
you
kind of the
know,
same, but my phases last like a year. When I look at Spotify does my here's 2025, and it's kind of just one album because I've just had it on repeat all year, and then next year it'll be
yeah,
something different. But yeah, I mean,
yeah,
what an era to be growing up in when hip hop was just coming about. And I get what you're saying. I don't, I struggle to even identify modern hip hop with hip hop. But that's probably just because, to hear how it was, I guess for me, it was like 80s hip hop. That was when I started coming up, and 90s was huge for me as well. Um, but yeah, it feels so far removed from that. And especially when you switch on the radio and you listen to hip hop, there's probably the more commercial angle of hip hop. Like, I know there's still probably music happening that's much truer to the scene and truer to the movement. But yeah, probably an age thing. We should probably have a cup of tea and moan about how hip hop used to be much better when we were growing up. uh,
yeah,
and I guess
yeah. We could.
yeah,
Sorry, go
carry
ahead.
on.
I was gonna say, back in the day, they would film like in "Do the Right Thing" with Spike Lee. You could sit on a brownstone in front of a brownstone building in New York City. You and I could be sitting there talking about this ain't freaking rap music. This is terrible, you know, with our cup of coffee or maybe a 40. Who knows?
um, and what role does music play in your life now? Is it something you kind of listen to all the time, or you kind of choose to listen to it at different times?
It's a great question because I find music that mimics, I guess, my mood and how I feel in the moment a lot of times. So whatever I find myself listening to, there seems to be a flow. Uh, like I'll just check in with myself, and I'm like, what do I really want to hear in this moment? Naturally, I have my couple of go tos for when I'm working out, where
Mm,
it's let's go, let's kick ass, and let's throw some weight around and move the body. And then there are other times, maybe I'm missing Zaina and she's in Montreal, so I'll listen to some melancholy, groovy, but you know, twangy music that might be on the sadder side of things, or just moody, or
yeah.
emotional. And other times I might be home and it's like I want some quiet. I'll just listen to some instrumental music in the background, very soft,
Hmm.
and so it all depends upon what I'm feeling. And
Yeah.
sometimes I'll be strategic with it. I'll be like, I feel like X. I'm okay with X, but I would like to explore Y. And I'll say, what
Mm,
kind of music would help me help myself facilitate where I'm at to where I want to be in this moment. And I'll play something and I will use it as a means to transition from one experience to the other. I do that a lot, honestly.
yeah. Very cool. I've never really tried that. It's a great way to think about it. Another guest that was on was talking quite passionately about using music in that way. They just described it as a state shifting tool, and they were very intentional about what state, when they wanted to shift state, and what sounds they would use to help shift that state, which I found really interesting. And I was talking to my partner recently because she is still um, trying to figure out what a song choice is, and she's like, watch these episodes, and she's like, I just don't think I like interact with music in the same way as a lot of your guests do. And she kind of had this epiphany that she would not listen to a sad song or an emotional song or anything like that. I mean, she listens to them, but when she plays music, it is usually to uplift and get her body moving. It's a kind of a very strict purpose that drives her musical choices. Whereas I'm like you, like there's times where I'm like, I'm gonna put on some really like sad Stevie Wonder love songs because I really want to feel emotional. other times it's like I'll put on some John Coltrane because I just want to just like melt away by the fire. But there's a whole range of moods that you can access, but it's interesting. I guess the ones people choose and also why they choose them and the moments they choose them in, I find quite fascinating.
100%. I that resonates a lot with me. Well, one of the things that for me that's been really interesting is I would say my auditory censoring experiences in life are probably one of my most heightened um, five senses.
Wow.
It's not it's not my visual, my taste, my touch. It is my auditory. So like hearing music, I don't know why. I mean, call it. Most of the questions of life can't be answered other than we just impose an idea or a story about it. That's at least my philosophy. And this would be one of them where, for as young as I can remember, I would my ears and what I hear has just had a great influence on how I felt my body and how I experienced life. Um, which is really cool, which is like the ability to hear things metaphorically or metaphysically that is not people overlook or they may not be in tune with. And I'll hear it and I'm like, did you hear this? Like, no. And so sometimes maybe a literal sound, but also sometimes hearing the whispers of the wind or the hearing the whispers of my gut speak. I've always been sensitive to that. And then from a more playful side, which is I love my experiences with Zaina, is the more sensual and sexual elements of moaning, of all kinds of things. When you get into those realms, how activated I get and
Yeah.
sensually and sexually charged with her and so it becomes almost like a snowball, a reciprocal going back and forth. And it's pretty interesting. And I tie that back to the music that we were just talking about is
Yeah.
that's why for me music is so cathartic and helpful, or it can, induce more heaviness for sure.
Mm.
And I think there's something to be said about vibrations and energy and when they do sound healings. Like I always found all of that beautiful and so calming. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm the same in a lot of that. And vibration and frequency seems to keep coming up with a lot of guests because I guess that's when you really boil it down. Um, there's so much cultural influence in taste. There's so many different aspects to the taste or the music you grow up with. But a lot of the guests on this show talk about a song just hitting them from somewhere in a way they didn't understand. And it kind of always boils down to the body just receiving that vibration and frequency before the head's really been able to figure out, like, wait, what? What is this song? I'm not sure I even like it. It's just like your body's like, yeah, you like this. You like this. There's something about the way those vibrations come in through the ear and hit the body there's something pretty powerful about it, I think.
That lands for me as well, my friend.
Mm. Um, and I think it would be a great time to actually hear the song that you brought with you. But I guess just before we do, um, I think a quick heads up for anyone tuning in for the first time. This isn't a deep dive into music theory. This show is about the stories behind songs and the way they become a part of who we are. So if you haven't heard the track Jason's about to speak about and we're about to explore together, take a second to pause, give it a listen, and then come back. And I think you'll find the conversation will just hit a little deeper once the song's in your head. Um, so, my good sir, what is the song that you've brought with you today?
It's a song by, if I remember right, Mose, and it's called Vibe, I believe.
Or
I
Vida,
can
right?
visually see it. Vida, I think so. You might have. I'm glad you corrected me. Vida. You're right. It is Vida. So the first time I heard that song was within a week of leaving Soltara in August of 2019,
Okay.
and to me it crystallizes everything about transitions of life and flow with life. It had such deep emotional heart stirring for me. And I was going through a lot of transitions with my current relationship, and also like what's next with life, what's behind the door, so to speak. I had met Zaina at the retreat. Uh, the minute we were on the bus driving onto the property, I saw her and I was like, hot damn, I gotta. There was something about her vibe and her energy. I just adored and loved it. There was a fireball underneath this innocence that I experienced. There was this wild, well, I refer to it, some of my language would be, she was like a wild stallion who had yet to be bridled. And her hair flowed and big locks and stuff like that. And the way she moved her body, and I wasn't overtly sexualizing her in my mind's eye. It was just that she had a grace about her and a flow and a nurturance that, um, we could say on one level, uh, I was needing in my life. And on another level, I just respected what was in front of me. And so, we would talk throughout that whole week we were there. We were good boys and girls in regards to the Soltera's rules and all that fun stuff. But we had a lot of great conversations and talking with her about life and dynamics and plant medicine and relationships. And I was like, wow, there's some substance behind her. Like
Yeah.
she had done, 8 to 10 years or more of her own, probably more of her own inner work, so she wasn't coming and presenting herself as not has rolled up the sleeves metaphorically and put herself through the mill to expose her own conditioning, her own heart, and finding out who's the lady behind the mirror. Um, and we left exchanging phone numbers through WhatsApp and said, let's stay in touch. I don't know, what was going to happen. I was like, okay, great. Well, as I'm transitioning back and heading back to the States, I to this day, I don't know how I found the song. I don't
Interesting.
remember. I can't recall how I found this song. All I know is I found it. I don't know through what mechanism. I don't even know if maybe Spotify was around at that, but I didn't have a Spotify membership at the time. Regardless, I don't know how I found it, but it plopped in my lap. That's the best way I can put it. And I listened to it, and to me, it was the total embodiment of Soltara, my experiences at Soltara and the temple, i.e., plant medicine overall. It embodied transitions, transformation. It spoke to my potential relationship of how I experienced myself with Zaina, how I was starting to really say I want more of her in my life. And I don't know what the hell that looks like. So there's the meaning to this song, and the intensity and the heart to the song, for me became self-evident. And honestly, it was one of the very first text messages I sent to her after I left Soltara. And I said, hey, take a listen to this song, something to that effect. It really reminds me of you and my experiences at Soltara. So paraphrasing, something like that. And she loved the song, and it's been added to our mutually shared playlist on Spotify. It's called Love My King. That's what she calls her Spotify list for our relationship.
Yeah.
And we will periodically still listen to it. I was just playing it the other day, like even prior to even asking about the song. Um, so there are those times when she's in Montreal and we're working through her fiance visa, uh, that I need my dose of flow in that, in what she represents to me in our relationship, and I'll play it.
Mm.
Interesting enough, I'll play it when I'm working out. I'm playing it when I'm making dinner. I'm playing it. There's not a single time I would say that I exclude it from it having a part or an influence on my life.
Yeah.
Um, I play it when I'm happy. I'm playing it when I'm sad, but the vibe on it and the, I guess nowadays, the photo album or whatever, the picture that's on, in particular Spotify, but it has a jungle feel to it. So visually reminds me of my time in Soltara and in the temple and plant medicine. And usually music that has an intense bass or has this emotional tone to it, and there's no words, and that to me is even more beautiful about it, is you're just flowing with the sound. I'm
Mm.
not being swept away by one's lyrics. I'm not being seduced by "You're the wind beneath my wings," and like all of that stereotypical codependent language that I'm not a fan of. But it's just melody, and it's just the flow with it. And it's almost like, to me, an artist. I'm not an artist by any means. I can barely draw a stick figure, kind of person here. Uh, but what I would say is I get to become my own inner artist with that song, and I get to flow with it in different ways and different. I can apply it to different genres and different moods, and just I get to write the script.
Mm.
And other times I don't write any script. I just listen to it, and I'm a big guy, but next thing you know, I'll have rhythm in my steps, supposedly, and I'm just moving my body almost like ecstatic dancing, I'm just like flowing and I'm having a good time.
Yeah.
And so there's so many applications of that song for me, metaphorically, literally, paradoxically. It That's my number one jam. That's why I shared it with you, to share about life and my experiences with Zaina
Yeah.
and beyond Zaina, and how I've experienced it and sharing it with my daughter and all that other fun stuff. So
Wow. Okay. And for me, it was the first time I'd ever heard it today. So listening
mm,
to it today, yeah, it was powerful. It was powerful. I think I was coming off the back of like a solid day, a busy day playing with the kids. I had no idea or expectation about what this song was going to be. And it kind of, yeah, it stopped me in my tracks a little bit. I was like, okay,
yeah.
this is a little bit deeper, and I'm just fascinated by the scene that you set there, because you're coming off the back of an ayahuasca retreat. Um, you've met someone who you really connected with. Um, yeah, you're coming off the back of that. What, like we talked about before, who knows how this song has found you? I'm not even going to push for where it came from or how you listened to it. Somehow this song's found you. And I think what fascinated me most was how you talked about the impact it had on you, right? Because it made you look inwards, it made you look outwards, it made you think of transformation. Like, do you have any way of articulating what you think happened there, and how that happened through just music entering your ears and entering your body to have such a profound effect on you?
That's a great question. When I coach people and they're trying to externally process or give voice to what they're internally processing,
Mm.
people speak in so many words, like 50 to 100 words, to try to integrate and synthesize an idea mentally and speak. So sometimes what I invite myself and clients to do is can you restate all of what you took 2 to 3 minutes to say and funnel it down to 12 words or less? That's my statement. In 12 words or less, restate all of that. And for me, it's a beautiful exercise cognitively to use all of the ingredients, funnel it down, and in 12 words or less, succinctly and with coherence, speak to the answer to the question. For me, that song does that somatically. No words. It's not putting words, left brain activity, 12 words or less. It is finding rhythmic melody, tones, and flow that embody 11 medicine trips. And my experience with Zaina, like it crystallizes all of that into one song to be felt with no lyrics, is my version of one song does it. And that's the
Yeah.
song that does it somatically for me. So
It's so
that's how
cool.
I think and feel about that song. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's kind of even cooler that it doesn't have lyrics. It's got nothing for the brain to get latched onto. It's just like pure music.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I love that.
Yes. Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
mentioned Zayn listens to this, loves it. You mentioned your daughter listens to it as well. Like what's her reaction? Does she react in a certain way? Is it a family thing?
I can't say it's a family thing. I mean, I've introduced it to her 2 or 3 times. She likes the music, the song. I can't say that, the experience and the story that I have with it that, naturally she doesn't have with it. She likes it and she appreciates it. I think she's into other genres overall. Like her favorite singer is Lana Del Rey.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of her vibe currently. So, but it was something important for me to share with her. That was a song that embodies some of the concepts that I've shared on our podcast today,
Yeah. Yeah.
and also about what it represents to me on behalf of my relationship with Zaina. So she's connected all of those dots,
Yeah.
and that was what was important that I wanted to share with her.
I agree. And on many levels. And I mean, I think my son is 3.5. My daughter's 18 months, so probably a long way to go before we're a sort of music sharing stage. Although we do share a lot now into largely the songs they like, but I think I do hope to have that, and I do think it's important more so as just sharing and connecting about things that really mean a lot to you and you hold dear, but also this idea of frequency and vibration. Again, I think if it's having a profound effect on your body, it's almost passing on a gift to another human that you love and is close to you. Just to say, I'd really love you to feel these vibrations too, regardless of whether they like it. It feels like a nice thing to be able to share on many levels with someone you love, I think.
Amen. I
Mm,
appreciate that.
yeah. Fascinating. You mentioned listening to this. So it's really cool because I mean, I listen to this sort of music and I kind of I would describe it as medicine music. It feels like the sort of something that would fit in at a kind of retreat. There are no words, but it feels like there's medicine woven into it, or it's some sort of healing song. And it's fascinating the different scenarios you listen to it in, but most fascinating the gym. Like I could never listen to this in the gym. I've got to have something like some Nirvana on or something pumped up. I can't imagine going and listen to this one to the gym, but you're happy listening to this anywhere, right?
100%. I mean, my gym music is super eclectic.
Yeah.
I've listened to I've listened to Alan Watts lectures while I'm working out and going crazy in the gym, and exercising. I've listened to this kind of music. I've listened to motivational, like get your shit together, let's go, let's kick ass, and rah 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 kind of music. My Metallica music and Nirvana, all of that, to rap, old school rap, like some of my old school music.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll just listen to music that has a really cool upbeat beat per se,
Yeah.
where I want to dance. And I will dance in between my sets, like in the gym, and just do my thing. I'll be in my own bubble. I'll have my baseball hat on, I'll have my
Yeah.
ears plugged in, and I'm just tuning out the world, and my eyes are closed, and I'm just flowing. And I don't care what people around me are looking or doing. I'm
Oh
just I'm
man.
just doing my thing. And so yeah, I mean, because sometimes my daughter works out a lot.
Yeah.
She does, and she listens to some of the stuff I listen to. She goes, "I don't even know how you can work out to that stuff. Like that sounds just like weird." And so just chalk it up to another weird episode with me of interacting with dad. But yeah,
And also,
I have a big I have a big buffet style of music that I listen to when I work out, for sure.
I have a fantastic picture in my mind there, because I don't think our viewers can see, because you kind of just got a headshot going on, but you're a big guy, and I had a great vision of you just dancing away in the gym with your headphones on in between sets.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh yeah, I
for
like that.
sure.
I like that.
Yeah.
And in terms, I'm always intrigued to understand how the kind of the meaning or your reaction, or how you respond to the song has evolved over time. So you kind of described in a very articulate way what it meant to you when you first heard it in that period of your life, post retreats, connecting with someone, ideas of transformation, self-reflection, all these things. When you listen to it, say, yesterday, does it bring that back? Does it give you new thoughts? Has it shifted in how you kind of react when you listen to it?
Yeah, that's another great question. Um, yes. So there is a shift in how I experience it, with what I would say is an underlying stability with it.
Mm,
So it's almost like the ocean, where maybe the floor of the ocean feels very calm and much still, where on the surface of the ocean you have crashing waves and etc. And that's always changing. So I feel like that song is twofold similar, where there's this interwoven stillness of when I first heard it to now that is unwavering.
mm,
And yet there is sometimes subtle and sometimes gross experiences of feeling how it's different, and how I experience it today, and how life is unfolding with my life as we speak versus 5, 4, or 3 years ago. Absolutely. So for the first several years in particular, like one quick example is, Zayn and I were living together during COVID. She was here on a visa. She kept on getting extended because the border was closed. Uh, you would have thought that we were two peas in a pod. Well, that ended, and different border dynamics. Next thing she's in Montreal, I'm here. So for me, the song is enjoyed while, we say, while we're apart, the heart grows fonder. Well, I lean into this song while she's living in Montreal and doing her visiting, and I go up there and visit her. So it fundamentally feels like there's different experiences with the song now, with her
mm,
being there versus being here. Whereas the genesis of it was the evolution or the outgrowing of our relationship, evolving through 10 months after the retreat, being on WhatsApp and just learning about her in a very platonic way. Well, tell me about this, how about that, what are your trauma stories growing up, what are mine, and how our conversation has evolved as well. So
Mm.
I feel like at the end of the day, if I were to summarize it again, it feels this interwoven between stability and facing the dynamics of life that I'm experiencing.
Yeah,
And there's a flow back and forth between those 2 points.
yeah. I mean, it's kind of fascinating. I mean, probably a few things I want to say about that is that isn't it just fascinating how you can have a song, a piece of music as a, however you want to describe it, a tool, a companion over many, many years. And it's just always with you. You experience it at different times with different people in different ways. And it's like, it's like a friend that you carry through life and check in on every now and again, and you have a different experience with it. Um, I find that kind of fascinating. But also on that stability and turbulence. I often think this about songs that I've listened to. I'm like 47 now, songs that I've listened to when I was 9 or 10. In that there's that stability in that it roots you to that sort of childlike experience of hearing that song for the first time. Um, but also connects you with this giant turbulent journey you've been through over 37 odd years. Um, but I don't know. There's kind of stability in that song because it roots you to something, um, pure and innocent, or a pure and innocent memory. Yeah, I'm not sure I can quite explain that, but it's a very beautiful relationship you can have um, with certain songs or certain bits of music, and always feel very grateful uh, to the artists that have made it, that may never know the connection I have with those songs, but they've kind of been sort of key things in my life.
The one thing that not the one thing, but one of the primary things that I love most about music and just life, and this includes like relationships, is you never know the relationship and the interaction or the new person you meet and
Mm,
what is to become of it. And I think of that with music. Like, I for all intents and purposes, maybe unconsciously I was, but consciously I wasn't seeking for a song. It just showed up on my doorstep serendipitously. And you hear like thousands of new songs a year, and of all of the songs that you hear that are new, this is the one song that stuck with you, like in
yeah.
that way, and has been persistent. I always get enamored with the idea that it's like with my relationship with Zaina. Like to me, it's so parallel. It's like, I don't know what this means. I just enjoyed your presence. I
Mm,
can give you a laundry list and spend the next fair amount of time talking about it. And next thing you know, here I am engaged to this beautiful lady that I met randomly. Um, she's from the Middle East. I'm an American, and the two worlds collided in Costa Rica. I just
yeah.
think that that's absolutely like you can't write a script like that, kind of thing sometimes. And
Mm,
correlating that to that song is just fascinating to me. I get so humbled and curious as to, of all people, of all things, whatever it is, this is this is the thing that has stuck with me. It's fascinating.
yeah. It is fascinating. You literally never know how life is going to unfold or what's around the corner. Um, which is quite
No.
inspirational. Quite inspirational. I find the older I get, the more I have perspective on that. Like maybe in my 20s, everything seemed like, oh, but if I do this and that happens, and then if that happens, then that won't happen. And actually, when you get into your 40s, you zoom out and you're like, looking back, everything just unfolded in the in the way it was meant to. And nothing I thought was going to happen happened. A lot of stuff that I never thought was going to happen actually happened. And it's like, I think the older you get, the more you zoom out, you're like, okay, I'm probably not hugely in control of this journey in many ways. So I'm just going to enjoy the ride to a certain degree.
Yeah, I mean, that's well said for me. I mean, that's what I've found to happen with life. I mean, uh, if anything, you know, born and raised in New York, I thought I'd be a New York City firefighter. I thought I'd be married with 2 or 3 kids. Uh, I had it in my mind's eye how this is gonna play out. And
Yeah,
here, and I always wanted 3 to 5 kids, right? So here, uh, I moved to the Midwest, never would have thought that. I'm in love with this Middle Eastern chick now, and I have 1 daughter, and I'm working and doing things that I just never could have conceived of, you know? So it's like, you know, the whole statement of "man plans, God laughs" kind of thing, you know? It is, there's a lot of, I find that very true. There's when you for me, when you really boil down to it, for me personally, we have about 0.001% of control,
mm,
and anything more than that is just an illusion that we have control. And just stuff shows up on our front porch, and
yeah.
when, for me, that's the meaning of life. See what shows up and play your part, and dance with life. If I
I
were to
think
summarize,
so.
that's what I've learned.
And I think I'm probably learning more and more that a lot of the work to be done is getting you into a place, a state, a mindset that you're in the right position to spot those, to follow those breadcrumbs, like seeing when they come. Um, and it's probably connection with body and understanding that when something happens, listening to you, you know, your body might tell you, oh, that's the direction to go in, and not miss those sometimes very subtle cues, sometimes loud screams of kind of which direction you should head in, I think.
Yeah. Amen.
Um, if this song were a scene from a film, what would it look like?
You know, I get the vision of a big backyard on a pond with uh, a long walkway leading out to the water, and holding Zaina's hand and being old, wrinkly old, and being naked with her as we're walking towards the sunset, and that music is playing in the background, and we just disappear.
Wow.
Where we go, are we still alive? Uh, do we just, does life stop? It's more like, to me, the song speaks to a lot of unknown. So I would want to leave the audience with more questions than answers. And the symbolism of being naked would be is the shedding of all of the conditioning and walking towards the sun, like just going back home, and playing that
Yeah.
music as being the catalyst for all of that, is kind of the, in my mind's eye, what the visual that I'm getting.
I mean, that's the best answer I've ever had to that question. And I can see it right now, the way you described it. I can picture that. I feel like this is a classic end to a beautiful
Yeah.
film.
Y-
I
Yeah.
love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Uh, Jason,
Yeah.
we're starting to come towards the end of our conversation. But before we close, I guess looking back on what we've shared, the song, your stories, the memories it carries, is there anything that stands out for you right now, or is there anything new that's kind of come to light at all since we've been talking about it?
Yeah. Appreciate music, be present with music, but be careful of entering into a psychological trance that reinforces your conditioned history. I think um, that's what's coming up for me so much. I felt like, I guess I should share that, is
Yeah.
Music is quite powerful, and if we're not careful with it, we could perpetuate our misery, or we can be present with it and flow with the music as to where we're going with life. Kind of, yeah.
That's beautiful. Some beautiful sentiment to end on as well. And thank you for bringing this song. As I said, it was a new one to me, and thanks for bringing yourself so openly. It's been a beautiful way to reconnect with you after many, many years. And before we do close, where can people find you, follow your work, connect with what you're creating right now?
Yeah, thank you. So I have a website, innercompass9.com. That's inner, INNER, compass, COMPASS, the number 9, not NINE. So it's the number 9.com is the website. Social media, it's inner compass, the number 9 is my handle with Instagram. So those are the two primary ways you could find me.
Fantastic. Well, as I said, it's been a pleasure, and thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Shubeeh. It was great catching up with you today.
It's our time. It's our time. It's our time.